Hello, everyone. Chag Sameach, Modim Lesimcha, and welcome to Torah Lechaim with your host, Rabbi Anibal Mas, celebrating Sukkot with all of you. And I wish I could have done it from the Sukkah, but it's very noisy here in the neighborhood to run the class. Maybe next year. I remember during COVID they did it from my Sukkah at home, so I don't know, not so crazy to do it. But here we are, back at our weekly study. Welcome, David. Welcome, Shelley. Welcome, Brenda. Chag Sameach to you. Yeah, great. Yes, we're all hopeful for potential peace in Israel, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you, David. I enjoy playing and singing. I haven't done that. I haven't done morning singing in a long time. At least not in the main service. I guess you missed the family service that I was doing downstairs with the kids. I had a chance to sing more there and play keyboard my own way with my crazy sounds and all that. I built my own patches to do it. So it's very different. I maybe one day I can show you guys what I do. And yeah, with some very fancy sounds. Let's put it that way. I bring my own synthesizer and I make my own mixes and I have a drummer, bass guitar, saxophone, trumpet, hand drums, singers. It's pretty cool. And I get to sing and I get all the fun during the high holidays. But it was fun to do it in the main service as well. Well, welcome everyone. We are giving everybody a couple more minutes to start with the class. Today we are going to start to study something that I never taught before in the Torah Lechaim. I was checking every year I check what I taught previous years, so not to repeat myself, at least not too much. There are some things that sometimes it has to be repeated because they are the essence of the holidays, especially when we study the holidays. But something different today. We're going to study about the Ushpizin, these mystical guests that we receive in the Sukkah every day. So I don't know if you ever learned about the Ushpizin. I don't know if you are familiar with the concept. Let me know in the chat and what you know about the Ushpizin, other than that there is a movie, a very funny Israeli movie, but what the Ushpizin of Sukkot actually are. Okay. Shelley, you said, there I suggest that you may be the oldest kid in the room. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I have more fun than all of them together. I hope everybody with the coffee, this is not just Torah Lechaim, but it's also Torah Lechaim and coffee. Pretty cool. I have my espresso here with me, a double today. That's what I like around this time of the day, a double. And then around 3 p.m., a single shot. So that will have to wait another 3 hours for me to have it. Okay, one more minute, and we will start talking about the Ushpizin, the guests, the mystical and magic and super powerful guests that we are receiving every day of Sukkot. And it's a Kabbalistic thing. You're not going to have it in the Torah. In fact, I was reading that the whole thing of the Ushpizin is not even in the Shulchan Aruch. So there is no really halacha about it. This is just in the realm of tradition. So that's why many people don't do it. And I started to be more aware about it once I bought my home sukkah. I always lived in an apartment before, but now that I'm living in a house, I have finally the chance to build my own sukkah. So I got this kit that came from New York to an office that I was in Toronto, and then it was sent to me. And it has a canvas. The walls are a canvas. It's the same material that they use to build parachutes, so it's really strong. And what is cool about it, and I will show you a photo in a few minutes. What is cool about it, it has all the blessings that you need in the sukkah. They are printed inside, so it's kind of, it comes decorated if you want. It has some writings and things. And in one of the walls, I have all the rituals of the Ushpizin to do it in case I want to do it. So it's like I have no way out. It's they are staring at me every time I have a meal in the sukkah. The the ritual of the Ushpizin. So we are going to study. We are going to study that. Okay. So we are who we are. Welcome everyone. I'm gonna go to the class. Let's go quickly through this, and this is all the details about Sukkot. Okay. And by the way, I don't know if you like this new layout for the app that I'm using. I'm shrinking a little bit of my image so I have more space for the words there. Remember, in previous classes it used to be like this, and now I have it like this. Let me know what you think. I keep playing with this thing. It's a very fancy software. I can also do this, or I can do this, or I can do this. But I think this is my favorite. I think this is my favorite. Let me know what you think. Okay, Sukkot begins on the 15th of Tishrei, which is very significant, which means that we are celebrating Sukkot with a full moon. Considering that the Hebrew month starts with the new moon, which is when you cannot see the moon, you have no light at night. Sukkot starts at the point where the light of the moon is the brightest. So that tells you a lot about the character of Sukkot, because back in the day, without electricity, you could extend your celebration way into the night because you have some natural light coming or shining on you. So that this is very significant, and it goes very well with the joyous character of Sukkot. Yes, Brenda, it's magic. It's this beautiful software that I'm using, that I really like it. And I don't know, one day if I can show you, but I can also see all your comments next to the window, so I have everything around me. It's very well organized. Very well organized. So we celebrate Sukkot 7 days in Israel, but 8 days in the diaspora. That means outside Israel. It means that we are all celebrating here, unless it is somebody connecting from Israel, we're all celebrating Sukkot for 8 days. My name for the new moon is Sukkot moon. Yep. It's Sukkot moon. So start with the full moon. And Sukkot has basically 3 names. So we have 3 other names other than Sukkot. Sukkot means huts or booths. So in the Torah it's called Chag HaAsif, the festival of the gathering. In the Talmud they call it Chag, simply Chag, which means the festival with capital T. And the Siddur, the prayer book, calls it Zman Simchateinu, the time of our rejoicing. Sukkot is one of the 3 festivals of pilgrimage. Also always good to remember. Remember that only the first 2 days in the diaspora are Yontef, with all the restriction, but in Israel it's only one. It's only the first day. Okay, so I was noticing it because I'm subscribed to some Torah sites, which I use it to learn new things every week. And I just realized that many of the rabbis that I follow are from Israel. And are from Israel. Hi, Abraham. Welcome. Yeah, it's the first 2 days actually are our festival in the diaspora. Yeah, thank you for the clarification. And so I realized that in Israel, many of the teachers that I follow are in Israel. Why? Because second day of Sukkot, that is Chag here, I started to get all these notifications on my phone, which of course I don't check until the end of Chag, but it was ping, 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 was ping. What was that? It was for them. It wasn't Chag anymore, so they were uploading all these Torah classes. So, yeah, that's what it is. So the last day of Sukkot is called, okay, let's go back here. We'll recite a blessing when we enter the Sukkah. There's a special blessing, which is Leishev Basukkah, to sit the Sukkah. But it's more to inhabit the Sukkah. because the whole idea of Sukkot is we move to the Sukkah for a whole week. If you can sleep there, it's great. But at least you should have all the meals, the Sukkah. And then the last day of Sukkot is called Hoshana Rabbah. Here they call it Hoshana Rabbah, but the Israeli pronunciation, the Sephardic pronunciation, the one that I learned at school, is Hoshana Rabbah. And also, trivia fact, it marks the end of the high holidays. And so many people for Hoshana Rabbah, they come to synagogue with the same kittel, the same white gown that they will wear during the high holidays. We don't do that tradition of the Shari Zedek, but other synagogues they do. And yeah. So let's study about the Ushpizin. And this is what I wanted to say because this is something that not too many people are familiar with. Maybe they heard the concept. The concept of Ushpizin became a little bit more popular after the Israeli movie Ushpizin. I don't want to give you any spoilers, so I won't tell you what is it about. But it happens during Sukkot. Okay, and there are guests that come to somebody's house, so that's what it's called Ushpizin. It's a comedy. If you can find it, you should watch it. That's for sure. That's for sure. But that also piqued the curiosity of people to know what the actual Ushpizin are. So now in these days, more people are familiar about the Ushpizin of the festival than they were before the movie. That is a fact. I'm aware of that. Okay, but the Ushpizin, this guest that visit us during Sukkot, it's a Kabbalistic tradition. So the Shulchan Aruch doesn't even say anything about it, which means that there are many different formulas that we use to welcome these guests. Okay? So it's coming from the Zohar. Right away telling you that this is something mystical. It's Kabbalistic. So the Zohar says, Rab Abba said, it is said in Leviticus, you are to live in Sukkot for 7 days. Okay? And then the verse continues, and it says, every citizen of Israel is to live in a sukkah. This is brilliant, the interpretation of Rav Abba. Why is that? Because he realizes that the second part of the verse is unnecessary. If he starts saying, every citizen of Israel is to live in a sukkah, you are to live in Sukkot for 7 days, that should be enough. That should be enough. But the fact that continues by saying every citizen of every person of Israel is to live in a sukkah. So why the repetition? So Rab Abba will say the reason for this is that the first verse, the first part, is for the Ushpizin, the guests that we receive, the special guests. And the second verse is for regular people. So say basically, you are to live in Sukkot for 7 days is God's instructions to the Ushpizin, to the guests that we are going to receive. Okay, that verse is for them. And the other verse that it says, every citizen of Israel is to live in the Sukkah is for us. That's the Zohar interpretation of this kind of unexplicable or inexplicable repetition. So now we know what is the thing. So, but the Zohar is very, the way it mentions the Ushpizin is as follows. It says, the Ushpizin, which means guests, are Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David, and other tzaddikim, and other people, other righteous people. It doesn't say who are the rest. And we know that we have 7 days of Sukkot, okay? 7 days of Sukkot. So you have Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, David. You have only 4. Who are the other guests? Okay? That's why you will see in a minute that there are different traditions of who comprises this list of guests of Ushpizin. Okay? So there are at least 3 major lists. 3 different group of people will follow 3 different traditions. Number 1, the list is Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, Aaron, Joseph, and David. Okay, in that order. And that is accepted in many Hasidic groups. Then you have the other list, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph. Moses, Aaron, and David, which, by the way, this is the one that goes in chronological order, is more common within Lithuanian communities as well as some Sephardic communities. Okay? And there is another one that is Kabbalistic, the Kabbalistic tradition that skips Joseph altogether, and his listing is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Moses, Aaron, David, and Solomon. So those are the most common, that is the most common lists of the guests that we receive every day. Any questions so far about this? If you have any questions, let me know. I will just stop and will try to answer if it is any question that you have about the Ushpizin. Okay. Now, what you see there is a photo of my sukkah. Okay. My sukkah has that picture that it was printed on the canvas. And then I realized I went to check what is the list that my sukkah offers. And it's Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David. So my sukkah is printed in a way that we welcome the Ushpizin in chronological order, which is basically, as I mentioned before, either the Litvak tradition or the Sephardic tradition. This is not the Hasidic tradition or the Kabbalistic tradition. Nevertheless, it's I just wanted to show you what is the Seder Ushpizin on my my sukkah. By the way, if you don't read Hebrew, Seder, the order, Ushpizin is printed on the banner on top, and then it's all in Aramaic. The formula, this is the basic one. There are more complex formulas I'm going to show you in a minute, that how we go to receive and welcome all these guests. Okay? Now, why do we welcome these 7 tzaddikim, these 7 righteous people? What's so special about them? And again, remember, this is coming from the Zohar and the Kabbalistic tradition, so they explain it the following way. They said, number 1, we welcome Abraham. Abraham represents chesed, or kindness. Welcome, Nikto. Welcome to the class. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any questions, please ask. Okay, I know that many of the words that I'm gonna use are in Hebrew, or so just ask, and I will I will try to answer. Okay, so Abraham represents chesed, or kindness. Abraham is the father of the Jewish people. His life was defined by his radical hospitality. Abraham is the one, I don't know if you remember, guys, that he was just circumcised. He was still in pain for his circumcision. He did it at an old age. And nevertheless, as soon as he saw travelers in front of him, he ran to welcome them. So for him, the value of hospitality was so radical that he overcame pain, physical pain, to go and receive guests. Okay? That's why we honor Abraham on the first day of Sukkot. So, first day we receive Abraham, represent Chesed, kindness. So, radical hospitality even towards strangers. He was the first to open his heart to others and to recognize God's presence in the world. The one God, right? As Jews, we inherit Abraham's legacy of kindness, or we should. We should embrace the legacy of kindness. His trait of chesed challenges us to create a welcoming and compassionate world, beginning in our own homes. Each time we extend a hand to someone in need, we connect to Abraham's boundless generosity. So, one of the traditions that we have when we welcome the Ushpizin is not just to welcome the Ushpizin, is to have an opportunity to meditate on what they represent and how we can apply whatever they represent, in this case, for example, kindness or hospitality, in our own lives. This is something that if you have other people invited to your sukkah, you can talk about it. So every day, this will open up a conversation about a different value that it should be present in our lives and that sometimes we neglect. But on Sukkot, we have a chance to remember and to talk about it. So this is very important. Whenever you receive or you welcome Abraham as your first Ushpizah, that's the singular Ushpizin, we reflect how can we add kindness in our life. So the next one is Isaac, Abraham's son. Isaac represents the value or the concept of, or the trait of Gevurah. Gevurah means strength. So Isaac is related to strength and discipline. Why is that? Well, Isaac's life was marked by quiet strength and inner discipline. He carried the weight of being bound on the altar, an experience that taught him the value of restraint and deep trust in God. Remember that Abraham almost sacrificed Isaac. Why? Because God said to Abraham, go sacrifice your son. So the Torah doesn't tell us what kind of dialogues went on between Abraham and Isaac at the time where Abraham tied him into the altar. But then the masters of Kabbalah are trying to, they try to fill up the blanks in this tradition. And one of the things is that Abraham told Isaac, trust me and trust God. Trust. You know, we usually complain and scream and complain and when we don't trust, when we think that there is something is wrong, so we feel that we have to intervene. Isaac was able to trust. If his father told him, trust me, trust God, he was quiet and trusted. He believed. He was a believer. He was a believer. And at the end, everything was good. No harm was inflicted on Isaac. So he was right to trust and to remain quiet. So every time we read about Isaac, we value his inner strength to remain quiet and to trust his father, and on top of even more so his father in heaven and God. Okay, so we are connected to Isaac through our ability to endure challenges with faith. Every time we hold fast to our values, even in difficult situations, we are channeling Isaac's strength. His trait reminds us that real power often comes through self-control and patience. And again, if there is something we should reflect when we study about Isaac, is about all the situations where we are quick to speak, to say something, and to complain, and to do something. But sometimes we have to learn that not every situation deserves our intervention. Sometimes we have to take a deep breath and trust. So this is an opportunity to reflect on that value that we call it the Gevurah. Okay. Next is Jacob. Jacob represents the Tiferet, which is harmony and truth. Now, we have to remember that Jacob was the third patriarch, okay? And as the third patriarch, it is believed that he had both. He had both, a little bit of Abraham and a little bit of Isaac, which means that Jacob had both kindness and strength. So he was able to blend the two. Abraham was giving without ever just giving. Isaac was restrained. So there were two opposites, and Jacob is the one who was able to bring balance to the two. So that's what he said, harmony. Tiferet is the harmony, but Tiferet is, again, it's one of the Sefirot of the Tree of Life in Kabbalah, and it fits of the other two. It fits on Chesed and Gevurah. So this is a very important one because it's the first time that we can see the blend of the two. So Jacob, the father of the 12 tribes, represents the beauty of balance. His life was a journey toward truth and harmony, whether reconciling with his brother Esau or striving to create peace within his family. as descendants of Jacob, because remember, we are the children of Israel. Israel and Jacob was the same person. Remember, God changed the name of Jacob to Israel. So when you said we are the people of the children of Israel, we can also say we are the children of Jacob. Same. So as descendants of Jacob, we are called to seek Tiferet, the balance between kindness and strength, between spiritual ideals and the reality of everyday life. When we bring this harmony into our relationships, we continue Jacob's legacy of truth and balance. Let's see who else is there. Now we have Joseph. Joseph represents the yesod, connection and integrity. Joseph's story is one of resilience and integrity. Despite being sold into slavery by his brothers, Joseph rose to power in Egypt and ultimately saved his family from famine. His ability to stay true to his moral foundations, even in the face of adversity, is something we as Jews deeply resonate with. So, before I read the end, you have to remember what happened here, right? And let's connect it to our own lives. Usually, people that have been mistreated in life, usually, not always, usually people who have been mistreated, they become bitter and angry at life and sometimes towards other people, at other people. So Joseph represents the invitation to reflect in the fact that we should never allow the experiences, the bad experiences that we had, we should never allow the bad experiences to be what guides our life. Don't let your past dictate your future. This is Joseph. Joseph is teaching us that. Don't let your past dictate your future. When Joseph had the power to rise to when Joseph had the opportunity to have the power to be in charge of Egypt, he could have used that power to pay back to every person that mistreated him, but he didn't. In fact, he forgave everybody before him, and he used the power to serve the world and to feed the world in a time of famine. So we have a lot to learn from Joseph, a lot to learn of not letting the past dictating your future. Always remember that. So, Joseph's trait of integrity reminds us that strong, honest relationships, whether with family, friends, or God, are the foundation of a meaningful life. Then the next one is Moses. Moses represents the Sephirah of Netzach, perseverance, and also leadership, but perseverance in leadership. Moses, the greatest of our prophets, led the Jewish people out of slavery in Egypt and toward the promised land. His life was one of tireless dedication to his people and to God. As Jews, we are eternally connected to Moses through the Torah, the greatest gift he gave us. Every time we study Torah or persist in a difficult task, we are connecting to Moses' trait of Netzach, the resilience to keep going, no matter how overwhelming the challenge. So what happened with Moses is he was a leader. He was a very good one, very good leader. But he has so many setbacks that most people I know of, they will have quit after 2 or 3 of this. You know, every time that the people of Israel rebelled, you know, imagine the golden calf, and then when they were complaining about the manna and so many other things. But Moses persevered. He never quit. So Moses, when we welcome Moses into the Sukkah, is an opportunity to reflect on every opportunity we have to quit, but we don't. But we don't. It's important sometimes to learn that from Moses. He had every reason to quit, every single reason, but he didn't. He remained strong. He remained strong and committed to his leadership. And that's something that we should learn when we invite Moses to the Sukkah. Then we have Aaron, which is Moses' brother. Aaron represents Hod, which is one of the Sephirot. representing humility and gratitude. Aaron, Moses' brother and the first high priest, was known for his humility and his ability to create peace. In fact, that's the way the scripture, the rabbinic scripture, will honor Aaron as the one who would pursue peace all the time and was trying to make peace among people. That's why he was uh, the mourning that the Jewish people observed for Aaron was more intense than the one they observed for Moses. It looks like not everybody liked Moses, but everybody loved Aaron. Everybody loved Aaron because he was people's people. He was able to solve lots of their internal problems. That's why he was so beloved. Okay, so let's continue. He had a special gift for bringing people together even in the midst of conflict. We inherit Aaron's trait of Hod when we approach life with humility and seek to make peace in our own communities. Each time we let go of pride or offer a word of reconciliation, we are following in Aaron's footsteps and embodying his sense of gratitude and harmony, which is also interesting because you cannot have gratitude without humility. They all come together. Humility comes first, and from a place of humility, then you can express gratitude. A person who never expresses gratitude is not a humble person. It's a person who thinks that they have no reason to be grateful at anything, that we deserve everything. We are entitled to everything. And that is the arrogant attitude, not the modest attitude. And the last one is David. David represents Malchut, also leadership but connected to responsibility. King David, the warrior and poet, established the monarchy in Israel. Well, first with Saul, but King Saul, what is the word that I'm looking for here? King Saul's model of monarchy was terrible. He started strong until he wasn't anymore. He started faithful to God until he wasn't anymore. And towards the end, he let arrogance took over his life. He became very insecure. And because of that, he started to make a lot of mistakes. And that, at the end of the day, cost him the kingship. But so King David came with a new model. He wasn't by any means a perfect person, but he remained faithful to God to the end. And when he made a mistake, he was quick to recognize that he made a mistake. David. So that's what he basically established the monarchy, but he also set the foundation for the future messianic line. We believe that the Messiah will come from the seed of David. David's leadership was rooted in humility and his deep relationship with God. As Jews, we are connected to David through our shared sense of responsibility for the world. Each time we take on a leadership role, whether in our family, our community, or our work, we are embodying David's kingship. True leadership, David teaches us, is about service and responsibility, not power. So these are the 7 ushpizin that we receive traditionally on Sukkot. But you may wonder, okay, these are the traditional ones. But what about in modern days? Do we welcome any female ushpizin? And the fact is that the conservative movement put together a list of also female ushpizin, female guests, that some people follow that tradition, and they also welcome the female guest into their Sukkot, into their sukkahs. So who are these female ones? Well, the female guest, also called ushpizot. Okay, ushpizin is for men, ushpizot is for women. So the 7 are as follow. The selection of ushpizot is based upon the 7 female prophets named in the Talmud in Masechet Megillah, pages 14a and b. By the way, this is the Babylonian Talmud. So these 7 female guests are Sarah, Miriam, Deborah, Hannah, Abigail, Huldah. Who is Huldah? You will see in a minute. And Esther. In the Talmudic passage, each woman is associated with prophetic acts, but later they were invested with mystical symbolism by medieval Kabbalists. And that's why these are the names that they were added in modern days to the list of Ushpizin. So if this is your tradition, the one that would like to do, if you want to welcome the Ushpizin, you will receive two Ushpizin every day, one male, one female. Okay? So let me explain to you a little bit who was who here. So Sarah, the first of the Ushpizot. Sarah journeyed with her husband Abraham from Ur to Canaan to Egypt and back. Her inability to conceive jeopardizes the covenant God made with Abraham, and therefore his household, to make their progeny numerous and give them the land of Israel. Her response to God that he will give her son in her old age is to laugh. Okay? The name given to her son Isaac means laughter. But nevertheless, Sarah becomes the first matriarch, the one who went side by side with Abraham into embracing kindness and spreading kindness to the world. So that's why Sarah was very important in the Kabbalistic tradition, and that's what is our first Ushpizah. The next one is Miriam. Miriam, remember who was Miriam? First appears in the Torah as the unnamed sister of the infant Moses. She watches over him when his mother hides him in the reeds of the Nile River after Pharaoh's decree to kill all infant Hebrew baby boys. Miriam saves him, and by extension the Jewish people, by convincing Pharaoh's daughter to adopt him and raise him as her own. Later, she appears in another form as Miriam the prophet, who leads the Israelite women in song and dance after the crossing of the Sea of Reeds. And also we know that the people of Israel was blessed with water in the desert thanks to the merits of Miriam. So when we're reading the Torah that when Miriam died, they didn't have this miraculous water to drink, and the people of Israel complained to Moses because they were thirsty. So there are also miracles attached to the name of Miriam, but it's also she was mentioned as a prophetess, and that's why it made the list of the Ushpizot. Next is Deborah, okay, and this is a very special one because in the Bible, only female military hero and the only judge to be called a prophet. She's a critical figure in the Israelite victory over the Canaanites, led by King Yabin and his general Sisera. Deborah is often depicted sitting under a palm tree, adjudicating legal matters. She should in fact be depicted wearing a helmet and brandishing a sword. She was also a military figure. So this is a name that is worth study if you ever have a chance, because this is unique. Deborah is unique in the biblical tradition for all the things that she represented in that generation. Was unique as a woman figure in the Bible. Now the other one is Hannah, and this is kind of a famous one, the one who prayed for a baby, and everybody thought that she was drunk with the way she was uttering the words. But so Hannah is the most loved, but again cursed with infertility, of the two wives of Elkanah. In despair over her childlessness, she offers a silent prayer at the sanctuary at Shiloh for God to open her womb. In her prayer, she vows to consecrate her child to the service of God. When she becomes pregnant and gives birth to a son, Samuel, Hannah sings a triumphant song that proclaims her success over her adversaries and the ultimate power of God. And eventually Samuel became a prophet and a very important person as well. Samuel is the one who ended up anointing David as king, and it was also the council person of King Saul, so became a very important person. And Abigail's story begins with a description of her wealthy husband Nabal. David, not yet king of Israel, travels to their tribal area and asks Nabal for hospitality. Nabal refuses, and enraged David prepares to attack him. Abigail brings David food and drink and asks him to spare her husband. So she's recognized here for her wisdom and her ability to create peace, almost like, remember, like Aaron, the way he used to do it. So Abigail also became that. That's why it's praised in the Talmud and mentioned in a special place. And the other one, this is the probably the most unheard one for many people that I share this information with, is Huldah. In English, we spell it with an H, but in Hebrew it's Huldah. Huldah is a prophet. She's like a full prophet, who validates the scroll of law found in the temple during the time of King Josiah. You know, the story is fascinating also to go and read from the Bible when there were all these renovations on the temple, and these scrolls, missing books from the Torah, were found. And when King Josiah reads it, freaks out because they realize all of a sudden that they were transgressing the law by ignorance, I guess. Maybe they probably heard that they didn't supposed to do things, but there was nothing written saying that they shouldn't do certain things. But now the proof surfaced, and they freaked out. And then when they read all those restrictions or things that they shouldn't be doing and they were doing, they said, okay, let's go ask the prophet if this book is legit. Interestingly enough, and there are many theories about this, what happened is they didn't go ask Jeremiah, that it was the main prophet of the time. Why they didn't ask Jeremiah? Few theories. Number one, they were freaking out about Jeremiah. It looks like he wasn't he never sugarcoated anything. He was very harsh the way Jeremiah was talking to them. Okay? But what happened is, and some people say that actually Jeremiah wasn't in town, maybe. So Jeremiah wasn't around, so they went to talk to Huldah, another recognized prophet. So they go to her. Okay? So Josiah sends his emissaries to Huldah, asking if the scroll is authentic. This story affirms that prophecy was indeed a role practiced by women in antiquity. Well, long story short, she also didn't speak nicely to them and said, yes, it's authentic. You people are all sinners, are all going to die. Except for Josiah, because he repented. He repented after he heard that about that. That he was. So she told him, you're going to be spared because you are repenting of your actions. Okay? And the last one, very famous one, Esther, the one from the Megillah, the one we read in Purim. Esther is first introduced as one of the young virgins taken into the harem of King Ahasuerus as a replacement for his banished, independent-minded wife, Queen Vashti. Esther is chosen to become queen, but does not reveal her Jewish identity to the king or his court until her people are imperiled by court intrigue. So that's why. That's what. Those are the 7 Ushpizot, and we welcome them with the 7 Ushpizin, if that's your tradition. The traditional tradition is just the male, but in this day and age, we also add the 7 females. Have you ever heard about this? Let me know in the chat. I'm curious if you ever heard about the Ushpizin or also the Ushpizot, the women that I just explained here, that they're part of the festivity. Now, beyond that, some Sephardic Jews follow the tradition or the custom of setting aside a chair in the sukkah for the guest of the day. The chair is decorated, and they announce each day that this is the chair of the Ushpizin. That chair remains empty throughout the meal. The custom is reminiscent of Elijah's cup at the Passover Seder, or the Elijah chair at the traditional circumcision. They also place a plate of food by the empty chair. The food is then sent to the poor with a note that says, "This is the share of the Ushpizin." So, in other words, the food that is put there, nobody eats it. Nobody's allowed to eat it. Nobody of the guests of the sukkah are allowed to eat it. Then you have to wrap it up, to put it in a package, and give it as a donation to the poor. That's what you can do. If you can find somebody in a corner or something, you can give it to them. It's almost like you're giving it to them on behalf of the Ushpizin of the day. It's a beautiful tradition that the Sephardics do. Now, let's talk a little bit about the ritual of the Ushpizin. What do we do? How do we welcome them? While the original text is in Aramaic, I will share with you the English formula if you ever want to use it when you welcome the Ushpizin, the Sukkah. So we start saying, "Enter, holy and sublime hosts. Enter, holy and sublime leaders." By the way, I forgot to mention this. Every day we welcome all of them, the seven, except that out of the seven, one or two, if you welcome the females, are honored that day. Okay? But every day we welcome all of them, but one is special. That's what you should remember. It's not that you have one at a time. They all come to visit you every day. So enter, holy and sublime hosts, enter, holy and sublime leaders, enter, faithful hosts, to sit in the shade of sublime faith, in the shade of the blessed Holy One, in the shade of the divine presence. Now, for the first day, which Abraham is the main one, you will say, "May Abraham, the beloved, enter, and with him Isaac the bound, and with him Jacob the complete, and with him Joseph the righteous, and with him Moses the faithful shepherd, and with him Aaron the holy priest, and with him David the anointed king." And if you are welcoming the female, you will say a similar formula for them as well. Okay, after you do that, you continue reading and you say, "We are now prepared to fulfill the commandment of the Sukkah as the Creator commanded. In Sukkot shall you dwell for 7 days. Each native among Israel should dwell in Sukkot, in order that your generation will know that I caused the Israelites to dwell in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Adonai, your God." So immediately after we welcome the host, we read this out loud to remember why we are there. It's not that we are having a picnic in the park. We are celebrating Sukkot, so we read it to make sure we know the concept. Okay? And then, of course, we say together, and we believe that the Ushpizin are saying it with us, the blessing of being on the Sukkah. We said, "Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, universal sovereign, who sanctified us with your commandments and commanded us to sit in the Sukkah. Baruch et Adonai Elonu melech haolam, asher kidshanu v'tzvotav etzivanu leishev basukkah." Okay? Then at this point, you will see all the blessings of the Kiddush and the Hamoitzi and everything. And then you say the blessing of the Sukkah. And now we're ready to eat, right? So before we eat, we say, remember, first we welcome the Ushpizin, then we said, "Sit, sit, sublime host, sit, sit, holy host, sit, sit, faithful host, sit in the shade of the blessed Holy One, in the shade of the divine presence. Our portion with all Israel's portion is pure, as it is written, Adonai's portion is the people, Jacob is God's own possession." So also pay attention how the Sukkah is described. The Sukkah is described as the shade of the divine presence. Why is that? And the Talmud talks about this extensively. The Talmud would say that the original Sukkot weren't physical Sukkot. The original Sukkot mentioned in the Bible were the clouds of glory, that Ananei HaKavod, that God sent on top of the people of Israel to protect them in the desert, because Sukkah means shelter. So God was sending this supernatural shelter to protect the Jewish people, and that was the That's why it's called here the shade of the divine presence, or the special cloud that it was protecting the Jewish people back in the day. Now we don't have the cloud anymore, so we build the physical sukkah to remember the times when we used to have the cloud. Okay? And then we continue. I invite to my meal the sublime host: Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David. And now we address the special host, the special guest of the day. First day, please Abraham, sublime host, may all the sublime hosts, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, Moses, Aaron, and David, sit here with me and with you. So we are saying, they're all welcome, but you are the special one today. You who transcend all worlds, may you consent to spread over us the sukkah of your peace. Blessed is Adonai forever. Amen. Ve'amen. And this is what you're going to do every single day on Sukkot, except that every day you're going to enhance the name of a different guest in your sukkah. And then finally, at the end of Sukkot, the last day of Sukkot, which is the day of Hoshana Rabbah, towards the end of the day, when you take the last meal of that day, before you leave the sukkah, because next day is going to be Shmini Atzeret, and even though we still sit in the sukkah, we don't say the blessing anymore because it's not part of Sukkot. Before we end the festival, we say, may it be acceptable to you, Adonai our God, God of our ancestors, that as we establish and sat in this sukkah, so may we merit in the coming year to sit in the sukkah of the Messianic era. Amen. And that is the way we wrap up this beautiful festival of Sukkot. Okay? So, here you have it. I wanted to teach you something different about the Ushpizin. It's something I wish I learned this at the time that I was a student, but nobody ever talked about the Ushpizin back in the day. But now we have the opportunity to study together about this beautiful tradition. And if you have a sukkah at home, you can make this tradition your own. It's a beautiful thing to reflect in very important values that we should be adding to our lives, that they come in the form of these 7 figures that they're represented such an important things in the life and in the history of the Jewish people. Okay? So, well, thank you so much, everyone, for connecting with me, for tuning in. Thank you. Have a Chag Sameach, a wonderful and joyous festival of Sukkot. And remember, as soon as Sukkot is over, we have Shmini Atzeret. We come to synagogue and we have Iskor on Shmini Atzeret. And then that evening is Simchat Torah. It's when we finish the Torah at the last little bit of Deuteronomy. And right away, we start with Genesis, the beginning of the Torah. Right away, we make the connection. We believe that there is no beginning or end in the Torah. It's a permanent cycle in the life of a Jew. So it's a beautiful thing. And if you come to Shari Zedek, we actually unfurls the whole Torah. And we physically connect the end with the beginning. And so people can take a tour of the Torah and to have a visual representation of how the Torah encircles us every day of our life. Okay? So, thank you, everyone. And remember, if you missed any part of this class, don't worry. It's going to be rebroadcasted tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time. You can catch it again if you want. And otherwise, I hope to see you next week. And have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Chag Sameach, Modim Lesimcha, Chagim Uzmanim Lesason. Be safe. Hope to see you soon. Bye, everyone.